Hello and welcome. So, as we approach the 1-year anniversary of Doom Eternal, I wanted to discuss a topic that was quite controversial during the early stages of the game, amongst many other topics. And in today's video, I'll be talking about platforming. So without further delay, let's jump right into it. So why was platforming so controversial? Well, to start, platforming in Doom Eternal was a massive step up from what we experienced in Doom 2016. In D16, the platforming was quite basic, or, for a lack of a better word, straightforward, which is not actually a bad thing inherently, because there is beauty in simplicity. But if you have played id Software games long enough, you'll know that they always try to innovate on their previous games. Anyone that played Doom 2016 and Eternal during their release would agree that they were, and still continue to be, revolutionary to the FPS genre. Now let's break down platforming in D16. It was mostly used to traverse vertically, specifically in the UAC maps. There was little to no horizontal platforming apart from a few areas located in Hell, where you have to jump on floating rocks, but that's really as far as it goes. There was nothing to keep you engaged while you were platforming, which does have the benefit of giving the player the opportunity to appreciate the level design, the art style, and really get immersed into the world. But let's be real here. After having played Doom Eternal, Doom 2016's platforming is a cakewalk, and if you do replay the game multiple times, those platforming sections tend to get a bit boring because there is no player interaction or agency while you are traveling to the next arena. But what about platforming in Doom Eternal? Doom Eternal took the concepts of what made the basic structure of Doom 2016's platforming and raised it to the next level. In Doom Eternal, the player has such a wide variety of tools in order to traverse the map that it's really quite interesting what people can come up with. There were also some new additions to platforming, like the wall climbing feature, which is quite reminiscent of the third-person action games like God of War series, Darksiders series, or even the Tomb Raider series. The way they function is quite straightforward. You jump up upon a broken section of a wall, you grab hold of it, and you can crawl up, down, left or right, exactly like the Incredible Hulk. Then as you progress through the game, they introduce more wall climbing sections where you now have to chain jump from one pillar to the other, and this allows you to get to higher ground in a matter of a few seconds, which if it was in Doom 2016 would have taken you a lot longer. Additionally, instead of jumping from point A to point B, they also introduced a mini-game or a mini-feature where the player interacts with shootable buttons that open up areas temporarily. So now, you have to time your jumps and you have to time your shots in order to get to the next zone. This is what I would call a direct evolution or innovation of the basic platforming sections by having the player interact with the map or environment. And this is a good thing, because it prevents the player from becoming bored even during subsequent reruns of the game, and it also trains the player in order to do multitasking while they are doing something as simple as platforming. And finally, as part of the platforming sections, they also introduced monkey bars, which I think are the most controversial part of platforming in this game. Now, in certain areas, specifically the Hell-based maps, the monkey bars are accompanied by these floating fiery chains that are there to act like speed humps on the road, or to add some sort of flavor to the platforming, but most of the time they are very easily avoided. The main complaint that these fiery chains look like something out of Mario. While that is true, Doom Eternal as a whole does not take itself seriously. I mean, you have these pop sounds whenever you get a headshot or glory kill a cacodemon. You have comedic relief in the form of the UAC hologram that worships the demons, and that's only really touching the surface of the things that are not serious within this game. And while I still understand where people are coming from, In my opinion, it never really bothered me as to why they are in this game, because I feel these sort of over-the-top, larger-than-life type of art style just fits in very well within Doom Eternal's entirety. But other than the aesthetic reasons for why people dislike or like platforming in this game, the concept of platforming is very important within Doom Eternal, and it's there to train the player in order to become better at the game. Because we all know, if you have played at a decent or at a high level, that movement in Doom Eternal is what I would consider the core mechanic of this game. Even in combat, movement is the most important aspect of being a good player. You can easily stick with 1 or 2 weapons, or even if you don't quick swap whatsoever. As long as your movement is optimal, you will be able to conquer the game even on higher settings. If you look at some of the best players of the game, while their aim and game sense is incredible, their movement is easily top tier. The way they duck and weave through all the projectiles, the way they use the monkey bars to switch their position on the map within a few seconds, or using other tools such as the meat hook to traverse throughout the map. All of these aspects is what makes Doom Eternal's platforming sections so interesting. And once you have understood how the movement works, and I want to emphasize, you don't need to master the movement in order to appreciate it. You only really need to understand how important it is, and if you are able to traverse the map even at an average level. And I am confident that you will learn to appreciate how incredibly fun the game is, and how important innovation is for platforming in this genre. A very good example of this is a mod created by 2 prominent members of the modding community, Prote and Solart, who created a mod called Horde Mode 2 for Doom Eternal. The platforming sections that are present within the Blood Swamps is incredible. It utilizes the meat hook to allow the player to traverse massive gaps, and I have to admit, I genuinely found it a lot of fun. And the way that platforming section is created, it honestly seems like something that id Software made themselves. It was slightly frustrating the first time around, but that is normal. And once you have conquered that entire platforming section, it honestly feels like being able to complete an arena without breaking a sweat. That mod, or at least what it represents, is what I would consider the evolution of what Doom could have in the future. And I'm honestly very excited to see what id Software will do with the ideas within this mod and see how they will implement it in their future games. Because this sort of information or this level of innovation will allow them to create bigger and better maps, and then give the players the means to traverse them in ways that are fun, engaging, and different or unique. Everything that I have said is all good and well the first few times that you have done it. But when you're someone who's trying to go for Ultra Nightmare, or you really like the game so much that you want to keep playing it even after you've completed the game, those platforming sections tend to get incredibly boring, even in Doom Eternal. So how can id Software improve upon their existing design without changing the entire gameplay element? Well, that's simple. Already, id Software, or at least Doom Eternal, rewards or incentivizes the players in order to get 100% completion on a map. This allows you to get more weapon points, armor or arsenal points, or just straight up allows you to get more runes, allowing you to switch on the go. In that same vein, I think it would be very beneficial for them to add jump pads in certain platforming sections or all of the platforming sections, so that once you have completed it, there's no reason for you to do it again. Or alternatively, the modding community again comes back with a better solution, and that is to introduce small portals that effectively teleport you to the other side of the platform. That way, if you have done it multiple times, the game will still respect your time as a player and allow you to remain within the fun zone, as Hugo says a lot of times. But at the same time, they could make those portals optional. So for the people that want to do the platforming sections can feel free to do so, but for other people that are doing more higher level content like Ultra Nightmare or just Nightmare practice runs, they don't need to waste time doing something as basic as platforming. And at the same time, for the average player or the below average player that were complaining that the platforming sections were too difficult, even in the Urdak level, by introducing these sort of skip mechanics, it really incentivizes the player to finish what they've started. Even if they struggle, allow them or give them more hints as to how to approach certain areas. And once they've completed it, they now don't have to do it ever again. And that feeling of conquering something or completing something would be a good training method in order to bring them to do something that is a bit more difficult in the future of the franchise. Now at this stage I was about to end the video, but I recently just had a discussion with someone who is a console player who has played Doom Eternal on console, and they said something very interesting that I had not considered. Now of course I don't play on console and I have not played Doom Eternal on console, so I don't really know how it is. But this individual has said that the platforming sections along with the combat mechanics, or basically the game itself, is balanced around PC, not around having a controller. And a good example of this is when you are using the platforming sections in Doom Hunter base. When you grab a hold of these coffins or these walls or whatever they are, you only have a limited number of seconds to jump to the next one. And if you are someone who is an average or maybe a below average player, the time it takes for you to line up your shot on console and to remain accurate or precise is not enough. And I feel in this case, as another feedback to id Software, please make sure that you balance the game around whichever platform the player is on. So if they're playing on console, then balance the game around console. And if the individual is playing on PC, then balance it around PC. Other than that, that's all I have for this video. If you like the video, make sure to click on the like button, subscribe if you like the content that I am making, and post a comment below saying whether you like platforming or you dislike it, or if you just want to say any random word, because all of these actions help my channel within the YouTube algorithm. And also, I've recently made a Twitch channel, and this is where I'll be live streaming Doom Eternal and a lot of the other games that I love to play. So make sure you follow me on Twitch and turn on notifications, which will let you know when I am live. As always, I will see you in the next one.